this computer.
Hi, my name's Theo, and this is Katie and Gigi. We're through science majors at Notre Dame, and we're partnered with Self-Healing Communities and Velshana, and we're here today to talk to you guys about brain care in South Bend.
Yeah, so brain care is kind of our way of reframing self-care to think about self-care from a neuroscience perspective and from a perspective that really understands the importance and the impact of self-care. So society often will tell us all these crazy messages like self-care is lazy or overly indulgent, or maybe if we practice self-care, we feel like we're not, putting our time and our energy into the people who love us and count on us. And in reality, that couldn't be farther from the truth. When we look at the science and at how the brain works, it's very clear that when we take care of our nervous system, when we take care of our bodies and our minds, we are increasing our capacity to show up for ourselves and the challenges that come up for us, and to show up for the people that we love and for our community. But any real practice of self-care, real intention, has to start with a reflection of what's hard about it right now. And so I'd invite you to just take a second and reflect on what some of your own greatest obstacles to practicing self-care are. I'll just pause for a second, but you're also welcome to throw any of your thoughts in the chat. Great, thanks. So as I mentioned, the science really backs up the importance of self-care. When we think about self-care from a neuroscience perspective, we are often talking about engaging what's called the parasympathetic nervous system. So that's one division of the nervous system that can be colloquially referred to as the rest and digest system, which is the opposite of that flight or fight system that you often hear about. So we want to engage the parasympathetic nervous system and really turn on that system by connecting to our breathing, to our senses, to the present moment, and to the people around us. So this is often what people are actually talking about when they talk about mindfulness or meditation, things like that. And you'll see a lot of those themes incorporated in some of our suggestions today.
Absolutely, thank you, Katie. And so like you were saying, it's not selfish to practice self-care, and likewise, it's not selfish to want to spend time by yourself either. If that's the way that you feel that you can recharge and rejuvenate yourself best, then that's what you should do. And so don't be afraid to kick back and relax by watching your favorite movie, reading a new book, or even trying meditation on the Calm or Hallow apps. And as Velshana is very fond of saying, resilient individuals create resilient communities. And that's really what this comes down to. If you believe that taking some me time will allow you to recharge and become more resilient and gives you the energy to work with other people and then give them your best self throughout the rest of the day, then that's what you need to do. And so even though connecting with others is incredibly important to your life and your mental health, it's also important to be able to take time to yourself. I know for me, this comes in probably two different forms. Every night at the end of the day, I'll take about a half hour to myself and just read a book. And that really helps me take my mind off of what I did during the day and allow me to reflect and get ready to fall asleep and really recharge for the next day. And then in the morning, I'll always take a little bit of time and work out. And I think having that physical exercise and that rigor to start my day off really helps me get ready to work whether that's like homework or relationships or even class. And it also is a great stress reliever and a great energy boost.
Yeah, another great important part of self-care is nourishing your mind and your body. So to make it a little bit more fun, I would highly recommend the South Bend Farmers Market. I've been a few times, and it is both inside and outside, so you can deal with all the weather that South Bend has to offer. And it's super inexpensive, and it's a community-oriented way to get fresh food and homemade goods. You'll be connecting with your community. You'll be supporting local business. And then from a food perspective, you're also going to get some really fresh vitamins from the locally grown produce. And from a mindfulness, parasympathetic nervous system perspective, really enjoying all of the tastes that a freshly baked sweet has to offer is awesome for your self-care, for your mental health. And if you don't maybe got your groceries already this week, you could also consider connecting to your senses in different ways. So one example might be purchasing a scented candle there and lighting that at home and just taking a moment for yourself. anytime that you can engage those senses is going to be key. Similarly, enjoying the outdoors is also great for your nervous system. So this can take many forms and can be any length of time that you are able to commit. So really the key is getting outside, taking a deep breath and tuning into your senses, listening to your body, calming your nervous system. If you want to just spend a minute on a park bench, that's awesome. If you want to move around and incorporate some exercise, that also has great benefits for your brain. You're going to benefit from improved memory, improved sleep, greater blood flow. So there's really all kinds of awesome benefits there. And so we also came up with some ideas for spending time outside as part of your self-care practice. I know everyone in the chat or in the call is a South Bend resident, so I would love for you to share your favorite park in the chat feature, but I also thought I'd throw some recommendations up there. So I love Howard Park and St. Pat's Park. I've also heard great things about Potato Creek State Park. But you can also keep it simple, as I mentioned earlier, just go for a walk around your neighborhood, or maybe as you're walking into work, just pause on the bench and really enjoy your coffee and breathe in the cool air, the hot, sticky summer air. And if you really wanted to make a day of it, you could go to the Potawatomi Park and Zoo, and that's going to bring in that loving connections piece where you're really getting outside to see people and feel a part of the community.
Thank you, Katie. So since you all work at the library, you're already very devoted public servants, but finding other ways to volunteer and get into the community is a great way to foster connection, gratitude, relax, and really just have fun. And so some great ways of doing that are Our Lady of the Road, the Catholic Worker House in South Bend, and then DePaul Academy, which is a juvenile facility in South Bend as well. And then you can also find ways to serve the community in different ways, like paying it forward at the local cup, which is a coffee shop. And personally, I volunteer at the Paul Academy, and it's always one of my favorite parts of the week, just the chance to leave Notre Dame, get out into the community, meet new people, make new connections. And I don't know, honestly, the experience has led to so many profound and unexpected questions. And I always leave feeling so much better than I came, and feeling so much more grateful for the life I live and the opportunity to just have that time. And so the neuroscience backs this up too, actually. Volunteering is shown to foster feelings of gratitude and release much needed neurotransmitters that have a healing effect on your brain, like endorphins.
So another great way to embrace the beauty of the outdoors or the indoors is to take a trip to Chicago. So I know that all of you being from South Bend may or may not have been to Chicago already, but as a resident of the Chicagoland area, I can definitely vouch for the beauty and versatility of Chicago. So here I have listed just a few things that Chicago has to offer throughout the different seasons. So for example, we have the Millennium Park Summer Music Series, the Chicago Blues Festival, as well as Lincoln Park Zoo. And these activities are either very budget friendly or free at times. For example, the zoo here is free. And this aspect of self-healing and self-care for the brain has to do with the connections that we build with one another when we do these types of things. So for example, taking a trip to Chicago really fosters relationships with one another. It offers a great way to connect, perhaps in ways that aren't possible in like the workplace or in more formal areas. So strengthening those relationships with one another also builds resilience. And as the neuroscience component of self-healing communities, we know that no community or community building works in isolation. And with the neuroscience, resilience really focuses on the ability of the nervous system to adapt to change, and especially when confronted with stress. So any long-term stress or unbuffered stress can be perceived by the body as trauma. So that is to say that taking the time to build these relationships really does great things for the nervous system. Another way to promote self-care is by doing a trivia night. So for example, here in South Bend and Mishawaka, we have the Chicory Cafe, which hosts a trivia night every Thursdays from 7:30 till whenever. And it's one of their most valuable traditions. Trivia is a great way to stimulate the brain, and challenging the brain stimulates the formation of new nerve cell connections, and an active brain keeps you away from stress. We like to think of the brain as a muscle, which requires exercise to promote brain memory and thinking ability. So for example, with brain games, we can keep our brain agile by improving memory and attention span. So with the trivia night, we can challenge your brains and see how much we know. With all that said, thank you all so much for tuning in. We hope that you picked out or learned a new thing or two about the importance of self-care. So drawing inspiration from your community or peers can be a great way to try out new things. But remember that self-care is incredibly individualized. So you are totally within your power to choose what kinds of activities make you feel best and rejuvenated. I invite you all to take our post-presentation quiz to check your knowledge on self-care. Thank you, everybody.